Hi guys, welcome to Target Eyes. This is Harshini. I will be starting a new series on interstate disputes, and we will be covering a wide range of issues in this series, from water disputes, border disputes, territorial claims and any other disputes related to the two states or two or more states. And this series is helpful for both upcoming preliminary examinations and mains examinations, as we will be dealing each topic in detail from historical background to the current developments. And as part of this series, today's video will be our first, and the topic will be the ongoing interstate border dispute between Assam and Mizoram states. So let's start. On 26 July, violence broke out on the premises of Assam and Mizoram border. Unfortunately, this incident resulted in the death of 6 policemen from Assam and injured nearly 50 civilians from both the states. Intriguingly, this incident supervened on the same day when the chief ministers of the two states sparred publicly on Twitter. And there are different versions from the officials of both states regarding what exactly happened on July 26. Let us listen to their response.
The problem is that Assam and Mizoram border, there is a big reserve forest. Constitutionally, the reserve forest belongs to Assam. Assam wants to protect that reserve forest. There is a repeated encroachment, so we are defending the situation.
And on Monday, from Assam, IGP, district magistrate, and more than 200 Assam policemen suddenly come up inside Mizoram, and they overrun the CRPF, which was set up by the Union Home Ministry, because they were only some 20 or 30 or so.
The basic reason behind the violent clashes on that day was boundary disagreements from both states. And this interstate boundary disputes are not new in northeastern region. It has a historical background to it. In Northeast India, there are several interstate boundary disputes which are result of mainly 3 reasons. 1. Complex history and geography of northeastern region. 2. Colonial era demarcations. And the third one, ambiguity in post-independence reorganization. Northeast India has unique geography and demography. This region is home to several indigenous tribes. Due to the constant tribal conflicts in the region, drawing of administrative division has been a complex task. But during British era, the priority was given to commercial interests, and to facilitate their interests, haphazard boundaries were drawn by violating the tribal community rights. These colonial blunders, accompanied by the post-independence reorganization, has contributed for the interstate boundary disputes in the region. After independence, Assam was a large state which included many of the current states of the northeastern region. It was after decades, states and union territories were carved out of Assam. For instance, let's see. Nagaland was carved out of Assam in 1963. Arunachal Pradesh, which was formerly known as Northeastern Frontier Agency, that is NEFA properly known as, was carved as Union Territory in 1972. In the same year, Meghalaya and Mizoram were also carved out as Union Territory. Later, all these Union Territories were also given complete statehood. But all these states and Union Territories were carved out based on colonial demarcation, which led to several unresolved disputes today. With this background, let us now get into the issue. At the heart of the dispute over the 165 km Assam-Mizoram boundary are 2 border demarcations that go back to the days of British colonial rule and disagreement over which demarcation to follow. And these 2 different demarcations are based on 1875 notification and 1933 notification. 1875 notification is based on Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act 1873. This act introduced inner line permit system in the northeastern region. We all know that British introduced this inner line permit to protect their commercial interests by prohibiting Indians of other parts of the country from entering these inner line permit areas. Based on this, British held consultations with the Mizo tribes and their leaders who inhabited the Lushai Hills, the present-day Mizoram. This consultation resulted in the demarcation of boundary through 1875 notification. On the other hand, 1933 notification provides new alignment for the boundary. In 1933, the British conducted demarcations in the northeast for separate districts based on culture, linguistic, and tribal lines. This led to a new boundary separating Lushai Hills and Kutcher Plains and the former princely state of Manipur. As part of this trifurcation, some parts of Lushai Hills went to Manipur. It should be noted that Mizo tribal chiefs were not consulted in this process. Today, Mizoram backs 1875 demarcation as it took place in consultation with the then Mizo tribal chiefs, and it outrightly rejects the 1933 demarcation as Mizo tribal chiefs were not involved while framing it. In contrary to this, Assam had accepted the carving of districts in northeastern states as per the 1933 demarcation. As a result of these different perceptions of border from both the states, the districts Karimganj, Hailakandi, Kutcher of Assam and Aizawl, Kolasib and Mammed districts of Mizoram are involved in constant clashes from past 150 years. Now let us quickly look at conflict timeline. We should note that in 1972, Mizoram was carved as a union territory on basis of the 1933 notification. When Mizoram was granted complete statehood in 1987, Mizo tribal leaders raised their voice claiming that Assam had taken away their land. With these tensions, in 1995, the first major skirmishes were reported in Lushai Hills along the border when the Mizoram government tried to settle their own people as per the 1875 demarcation. And in 2018, nearly 50 persons, including journalists, were injured in action by Assam police after some Mizo civil society groups tried to set up a hut on the disputed boundary. In 2019, the two states agreed to maintain a status quo and have no man's land in the disputed area. But obviously, skirmishes bounced back in October 2020, which left several injured on both sides and resulted in a blockade of National Highway 306. And since 2020, the contentious points between both the states are pushing territorial claims from both states along the border, largely for political reasons, unauthorized constructions in areas claimed by other sides, which follows the officials of other side demolishing these unauthorized constructions. And all these escalated the tensions on the premises of the border since 2020. Now, what is the present situation? There are two approaches which the states can adopt today. One, center can be approached. As this conflict is clearly a subject dealt under the center-state relations because of it being an interstate dispute and internal security of the region at stake, the center can be involved. And the other approach is, according to Article 131 of the Indian Constitution, states can approach Supreme Court to resolve the issue. At present, Central Reserve Police Force, that is CRPF, are deployed on the border to maintain peace, and Union government is of opinion to rely on satellite mapping to demarcate the boundaries and resolve such boundary disputes in future. Instead of aggressive approach, both states need to amicably solve the dispute to maintain peace and order in the region. Thus, it is clearly evident through this conflict that colonial demarcations still affect the present-day boundary conflicts, and it is significant to consult respective traditional communities of the region while delineating or demarcating any boundary of the region. And this is just only one border dispute from the fragile region of northeastern India. For your information, Assam has other border disputes with Nagaland, Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh from decades. And recently, in news you might have seen, Assam and Nagaland signed MOU of withdrawing security forces from interstate boundary of Assam and Nagaland. These are the questions made by the institute keeping in mind the upcoming preliminary examination. So let's see what are these questions. First one, which of the following acts introduced inner line permit system in India? Options: Government of India Act 1991, Regulating Act of 1773, Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act 1873, East India Stock Dividend Redemption Act 1873. If you remember, we have discussed this in the historical background section, so you can go back to that and answer this question. And the second one, consider the following statements. Statement A, interstate boundary dispute comes under the subject of the center-state relations. Statement B, according to Article 131 of the Indian Constitution, interstate boundary dispute can be resolved by the Supreme Court. Statement C, Inner line permit system was introduced through Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act 1873. We have discussed all these techniques while we were discussing the present situation of the conflict, so you can go back and check and answer these questions. And now comes the mains question. This is for your answer writing practice, and the question is: discuss the need to consider traditional communities' opinion while delineating interstate boundaries with a case study. By giving example of this conflict, you can answer this question, and the answers to these questions will be given in our next video of the series. So until then, you can mention your answers in our comment section below. Hope you have learned something out of this video, and for your references, I have listed out all the resources I have used for making this video in the comment section below. Kindly go through them, and if you want me to deal with any other interstate border dispute or any other current issue in detail, you can let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching this video. For any queries or doubts, you can visit our website www.socialclasses.com. And please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for further updates. Until next video, please tune in. Thank you.